A family of Ferdino, his wife Pernille, their young daughter Mai, and their teenage son Gustav, lives in a perfect suburban neighborhood where everything seems harmonious and cozy. Gustav enjoys spending time outdoors, appreciating nature. In this neighborhood, neighbors often gather for picnics. This peaceful daily life changes when Gustav notices an attractive girl named Sonia moving into the house across the street. Recently, relationships within Gustav's family have become strained. Pernille is more concerned with their daughter and hardly pays attention to her husband, while Dino spends more time with friends and offers little help around the house. Meanwhile, their neighbors, Anna and Casper, never miss a chance to publicly display their affection, which sometimes makes Dino and Pernille uncomfortable. One day, an elderly neighbor rushes into a party and shocks everyone with her story that her husband died right in his chair in front of the television. She claims that he had already turned blue, but when Dino goes to their house, he finds no one there. This incident leads many to think that the neighbor might have just lost her mind. However, the question remains, where did her husband go? At night, while spying on the new neighbor Sonia, Gustav notices an ambulance and remembers that earlier in the day, many people suddenly felt unwell for unknown reasons. All of this creates an atmosphere of mystery and unease in the once peaceful neighborhood. The next day, the young man finally decides to introduce himself to Sonia. He offers to show her around the city and then invites her for a walk in the forest. Gustav tries to make a good impression on the girl, but suddenly, they hear strange noises and find a mutilated animal. At that moment, a siren sounds across the city. Returning home, Gustav argues with his father, who is worried about his son, as unexplained events begin to unfold in the area. Police cars are everywhere, but the officers ignore incidents happening right in front of them. Going up to his room, Gustav continues to watch Sonia through the window, and to his surprise, she suddenly waves back at him. Inspired by this, he climbs onto the roof to set off a small firework display for the girl he likes so much. Soon, it becomes clear that an unknown virus has been detected in the neighborhood, and the government decides to quarantine the city. Authorities begin disinfecting the streets and strongly advise all residents to stay indoors. At first, people try to ignore what's happening, but the situation quickly deteriorates. The first victims appear. For example, one day the old woman's long-lost husband returned, but he was actually already dead. He attacked and killed her. After this incident, the situation in the city rapidly worsened. The virus, capable of reanimating the dead and turning them into aggressive beings, gradually infiltrates the homes of those who do not follow safety measures. Soon, soldiers appear in the neighborhood, beginning to enforce the quarantine by threatening to shoot anyone who leaves their homes. Those who do attempt to leave the city are killed on the spot. The city is completely isolated, and the military begins going door to door, checking everyone for signs of the virus. Then the houses are fully isolated, but the residents are provided with a minimal amount of food almost every day. To distract themselves from the grim reality, Dino and his family decide to watch a video from their recent vacation, but suddenly, the electricity goes out, followed by the gas supply. Some houses are covered with black sheeting, and in such darkness, some people begin to lose their minds. The perfect relationship between Anna and Casper falls apart before everyone's eyes. Anna is desperately trying to escape the city, wanting to flee, but her husband refuses to take the risk and insists they stay home. At night, Gustav notices some neighbors being taken outside, loaded into the back of a truck, and driven away to a supposedly safe place, a hospital that has been converted into a military headquarters. Gustav wants to go outside to understand what's happening, but his father strongly urges him not to. A few days later, Gustav secretly sneaks out onto the street. First, he heads to Sonia's house to make sure she's okay. Reassured, he goes to the hospital, where he is horrified to discover that the so-called safe place is overrun with infected people. These unfortunate souls have simply been gathered together and are being exterminated like animals. Panicking, Gustav frees some of the infected and escapes, while the soldiers try to shoot down the escaped zombies. The number of the undead is rapidly increasing, and the soldiers are forced to retreat, leaving the surviving residents to fend for themselves. In the midst of the chaos, Anna decides to seize the moment. She gets into a car and leaves the house, abandoning Casper alone. On his way back, Gustav takes Sonia and her mother and brings them to his home. Despite Pernille's objections, they are allowed to stay, as they claim that the head of their household has gone mad and started beating his wife. At night, the infected begin attacking the house, but soon Casper appears and drives them away, after which he reunites with his friends. Later it is discovered that the infected respond to light, and Gustav's habit of peeking almost leads everyone to their deaths. After some time, Anna returns and reveals that it is impossible to escape the city. The military has blocked the roads and shoots anyone who tries to leave. She miraculously survived and managed to break through the crowd of infected. Later, Sonia decides to thank Gustav for his help. After that, she visits her mother and realizes that her condition is worsening. The woman has developed a fever, and it is becoming clear that she is getting worse. It turns out that she has a serious leg wound inflicted when her crazed husband beat her. In the morning, a distraught Mai tells her parents that her pet rabbit has escaped, although the adults have apparently already made a stew out of it. Then Dino and Casper decide to go scouting to assess the situation in the city and stock up on supplies. They walk through deserted streets and see that there are hardly any survivors left, only the horrifying aftermath of recent events everywhere. Upon reaching the highway, they encounter a massive wall with soldiers standing behind it. When the men get too close, the soldiers nearly kill them. Meanwhile, Sonia wakes up in her mother's arms and is horrified to discover that she has passed away. Unaware that the woman might turn into a zombie, Sonia and Gustav decide to leave the mother's body in the house and retreat to a room again. However, they are suddenly interrupted by Pernille, who informs them that Mai has run away. Pernille and her son, armed with a bat and a shovel, go searching for the girl but instead find a body with a swarm of flies in the crib. Meanwhile, Dino and Casper enter a local store, hoping to find supplies there. However, instead of supplies, they come across a frightened woman who tells them that she and her husband were attacked by the infected and asks for help. A short time later, her husband emerges into the light, but he no longer looks human and immediately attacks the men, resulting in Casper's death. When a whole horde of infected approaches, Dino flees with the woman to safety, leaving his friend to die. The woman thanks him for saving her, but Dino, threatening her with a weapon, takes her supplies, ignoring her pleas for help for her two hungry children waiting at home. Mai, searching for her rabbit, encounters the old lady who, it turns out, has found her missing husband. The infected neighbor attacks the girl. Hearing Mai's screams, the adults come to help, but it's already too late. Other infected attack the mother and son, but then Dino appears and shoots the zombies. The gunshots attract the attention of the horde, and the family has to make a hasty retreat home, fighting off attacking infected along the way. Meanwhile, Sonia's mother, now turned into a zombie, gets up from the bed and goes out in search of her first victim. When the family returns home, they encounter the infected Anna, who had been bitten, and the head of the family quickly neutralizes her. At that moment, Gustav bursts into Sonia's room and sees her in a panic, holding a knife, with her mother's body lying nearby. They lock themselves in and barricade the door. Dino enters the room with his wife and says they need to be alone with their daughter, asking Pernille to leave. He tries to convince her that they need to kill Mai, but Pernille categorically refuses. She grabs the girl and runs with her to the bedroom, trying to hide from her husband. Pernille continues to protect the wounded Mai, but suddenly the girl becomes aggressive and attacks her mother. Dino cannot bring himself to kill his daughter, and in desperation, he turns the rifle on himself, but finds the gun is out of bullets, causing him to die at the hands of his infected daughter. At this moment, the zombies attack the kids. One of them tries to bite Sonia, but Gustav arrives just in time to help. Realizing that they cannot defeat all the zombies, they decide to climb onto the roof of the house. Using a flare, they distract the zombies and, descending to the ground, make their way through the crowd of infected. With great difficulty, they manage to escape from the dangerous area and hide in the forest. With their last strength, they run as far as they can, realizing that the virus has already spread beyond their neighborhood. This brings the story to its conclusion.